Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of the Shaft podcast. A few weeks ago, we started publishing what we call the Shaft board. Now, this board was meant to create a much more interactive section of the Shaft podcast where we get to interact with you, our listeners, and our audience, get your views on certain debate conversations, and get to have you share your inspirations, share your stories, and also feature you in these episodes because without you, we are here just doing our work, and we rely on your support. And so this episode is the first special episode of the Shaft Board, where we've published two Shaft Board series. We've asked two crucial questions. People have brought in their answers. And so we are going to interact with these responses and then share our experiences, share our views on them as well. So this is going to be a really, really interesting ride. Hope you tag along through to the end. So we are going to do a couple of things. First, we would like to say thank you for your support so far. Make sure you subscribe because the bigger the platform gets, the bigger our guests would get on the show. And also, the further your comments and interactions with the Shaft board would go. So keep supporting us and view this through to the end. We would first go through comments that we've seen in the videos that we've published so far. And so on this episode, it's myself, Andrews, and your favorite host, Erasmus, who is here to discuss these things. So, Erasmus, how have you been? How is life
Yeah,
treating you?
yeah, I've been good. Just to note, I named myself as a guest in this. I'm eager to get on the other side, but Andrews keeps drawing me to this side. But yeah,
Yeah,
I've been good. It's been a turbulent week, but I've been really following the growth of the podcast, and I think that just
yeah,
like we discussed in our very first episode, it's really really
yeah.
amazing. Like
It is.
the
It
support
is.
I'm getting from people. So I'm really, really grateful. Just another reminder, uh, once the subscriber numbers begin to increase, we are going to see many, many great things on the shows, and we are very committed to giving you
Yeah.
guys the very best of the best.
Yeah, I mean Erasmus jumped over it as if it was some random thing. He deliberately named himself as a guest when he was joining the studio to to record this episode, and I had to force him to rename himself because I don't know whose guest he was. Because definitely not my guest. He's equally a host on the show. But how have you felt? Like did the support shock you? Did the view numbers shock you? Because definitely for me, it shocked me, especially when I saw the first episode hit over 10,000 views in about 2 weeks, and I was blown away, right? But it sort of gave me some more confidence in what we were doing and also more commitment to sort of see it through and then keep improving and keep upping the quality. And so how did you feel when you saw the numbers, when you saw where it was trending towards?
I mean, I would want to say I was surprised, but also I was not because right from the very beginning, I think when we sat down to put down the vision for this podcast, one thing we
Yeah,
kept on saying is that this was first a podcast,
yeah,
which then focuses to talk about debate and
yeah,
specifically about debate. We wanted to rope in the conversation around African debates and talk about the narratives and be able to put it out there for everyone else. So, what
yeah,
we've seen over the past couple of weeks is that we've gained an audience that is not just limited to debate, like, but
yeah,
audience within our networks, audience outside of our networks who are
yeah,
genuinely impressed by the quality of the podcast, by the quality of the content which we are putting out there. And for me, I
yeah,
think that's where the joy lies because it's so nice seeing things that you discuss and putting in the actual work and then seeing the results in
yeah.
that way. But it's
You
been
know, on
incredible.
on on Fridays, I usually go to work in a particular place where it takes me about an hour to get back to my place. So on the bus ride, I was looking through the podcasts and then I went back to listen to the first episode because mind you, this Friday was when we published the fifth episode, but also marked exactly 1 month when we started actively publishing episodes week by week. So I went back to listen to the first episode because it was more like some form of anniversary for me in my head. And so
Okay.
listening to the first episode, and then I was like reminiscing what we were thinking at the time, the hopes we had, the stories we were sharing, and I realized like maybe we do this, but we probably don't realize the value a lot because we
Yeah.
sort of don't sit back to soak it in like other people would. And on Friday on that bus ride, I was just listening as an audience, just trying to listen to every single thing that was there. And like I genuinely enjoyed the listen. And I did that also with Faithfulness's first episode recently over the weekend, and it's been amazing because he said something that really touched me. He's making sorts of quotes here that you can relate
Yeah.
to things way beyond debates, and it sort of
Mm.
really helps you put certain perspectives on life. So also putting myself in the shoes of an audience is sort of helping me see this in a much more valuable sense and perspective than just being at the back end and trying to produce and host and all that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. To be very honest, I enjoy the process. I enjoy the
Yeah,
process of making this podcast in the first place. But moving yourself as a listener, it's
yeah,
the experience is really really different, and it's really also empowering. I'm
yeah,
careful to not be the host who loves to listen to their own voice. God knows I hate that. But I
yeah,
think genuinely, if we just go beyond, oh, are we listening to this because we are the ones who made it? I
yeah,
myself
yeah,
listen to those guests, like even as I'm interviewing them, and I can hear a lot of things, and I'm like moved by them.
exactly.
It's shaping my path.
Yeah,
I listened to your conversation with Anam, which was brilliant, by the way, and
yeah,
I've heard some parts of the part two, so I'm really looking forward to it being published. I think people are going to love it.
yeah,
But I think the work which we're doing over here is impressive, and I think it's just going to prove itself down the lane, especially with some of
yeah,
the ideas that we've started to bring on board. And we just hope we get a lot of listener feedback to be able to shape these ideas and make them
yeah.
as powerful, continue to deliver very powerful content.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've always said one of the privileges I've had with this podcast, especially when you are hosting and recording, is being the very first listener. And if you've
Yes, yeah,
noticed anytime I'm in the background producing while you're recording, I'm just having fun. I'm just enjoying the
yes.
episode, leaving
That,
comments in private sections.
that's the whole
And
point
like
of the podcast, right?
it's
It's to
so
have fun.
amazing. Like
Yeah,
exactly, being the first person to sort of hear everything that everyone outside there is waiting to hear. And I'm like, oh my God, people would love this when they hear it, right? So
yeah,
it's really, really been a good month in terms of
yeah.
what we've done and the efforts we've put in.
I just wanted to chip this in because I think the journey is long, and we just hope people stick with us. So once
Yeah,
again, like just subscribe so that automatically this is popping up your feed. We've had a lot of
yeah,
comments from within the debating community and outside of the
yeah,
debating community of people who are
yeah,
approaching us with ideas. So I really do encourage
yeah,
that to put that under the comment section, put that under our
yeah,
social media platforms because we're really seeking to do wonderful things over there. But
yeah,
what we've also realized is that this is expanding the breadth of people that we could most likely talk to. I'm overwhelmed
yeah,
because we've spoken to
exactly.
people to say we want to arrange conversations, but there's
Yeah,
already so much to do. So
yeah,
it's really, really a long ride. So we'll just say people should stick with us. Don't give up yet if you've not seen your favorite person. We can assure you you'll definitely be on this
yeah, they
podcast.
are definitely on the way.
Definitely get them to say the things that you want to hear from them.
Yeah. And for me it's been amazing because the feedback we've been getting for people who've specifically given us feedback, especially privately, they would notice that these feedbacks have been implemented in terms of improving the quality of the podcast also
Mm,
because like you said, our goal when we started this was first of all to produce this as a podcast and then focus it on debate. And so the approach to this is to meet the standard of every other quality podcast you can
mm,
find out there that you can enjoy listening to, that you can enjoy watching, and find the quality up there. And so we put in a lot of effort to try and meet your expectations. And the interesting thing is that whatever we do here is for you who is listening, is for you who is watching. And so your views and your preferences are as important to us as the effort we are putting in because those two things have to be on the same trajectory for us to get the desired outcome. And so, like Erasmus said, always feel free to comment, leave your views, share with us if you know us privately, your thoughts and your ideas, and we'll definitely pick them up and then put them in the work and get the standards up there as well. And so thank you very much. For those who are listening who haven't subscribed yet, please do as an anniversary gift for 1 month to us. So
Yeah,
just do this and then
Andrews
let's
is
get
the
the
kind of
reward.
boyfriend who celebrates 5 weeks anniversary and a month's anniversary and
Erasmus, Eras-
only to
Erasmus,
him.
don't do this. Anyway, so
All
yeah,
right.
let's delve into the conversation. I mean, this first part, we would go through some comments that we've seen under the YouTube um, videos that we've published. There are certain people who've expressed very interesting support to us and want to just give them the recognition they deserve. Because some of these things are the things I go to the episodes, I read them, and I'm like, okay, it's leaving an impact on someone, right? So, um, we'll just go through them page by page. We'll talk about a few of them if we can recognize who they are, and then just give them the shout outs that they deserve as well. So the very first comment was from Abrantier from KNUST, who said, "Solid convo, good work, Erasmus and the team." And so
Thank you,
yes, this
Abrante.
is for Erasmus
Massive,
and the team.
massive.
Yeah. But I mean, Abrantia has been a lover of debate. He's probably not been that active in the circuit in terms of competition, but he's also been following the debate space for a very long time. And he's one of the people I would notice. If you go check, you see when somebody likes a video, you get a notification on Gmail, etc. If you go check most of these notifications, almost every episode he would go like, which
Thank
indicates
you
that
very
he's
much,
listening,
Abrante.
he's watching, he's
Solid,
following. So
solid number one fan.
thank you.
And obviously, like the team is really huge. Like
Yeah,
people at the background, so like always looking at comments and our credit
yeah.
section for the people that
Exactly,
we
exactly,
included.
exactly.
But
Because
also I think with just what you described, right? I think that's one of the goals of this podcast. We want to be able to
yeah,
create a platform where even people who have left debates still feel like they're part of it and they can enjoy it in one shape
yeah,
or form. Because
yeah,
it's always been like there's a dichotomy between you need to be involved in debate, i.e., like competing or just out of
competing,
debate. I
yeah,
think some of these stories and camaraderie, that's what we want to we've reached, that's the level we've reached with debate, right? We just want to have a
yeah,
feel good effect about it and reminisce on some of these things and just enjoy it.
yeah, yeah. So the second comment is from Izu's Corner, who says, "Great watch, love the conversation. Anyway, this great F Sha, dear politics." Like first observation, this Sha is definitely from Nigeria because this
Yeah,
this ending to the sentence is definitely from Nigeria. But the beer politics, actually, I think it's a great description of that episode because that episode is F being very open about the controversies, about the things that happened within his time in the sport. And if you know faithfulness, he even admitted it on the podcast that he himself would almost always have some controversy around him anytime he stepped on the stage. But those takes were actually very hot takes that people would struggle to talk about. But F is F. Like you can't debate him on his ability to talk about some of these things.
yeah. I think first of all, the beer politics is definitely what they motivated if you follow the conversation over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that episode especially, it was like we don't notice that we've not heard from F in a very long while,
Yeah,
especially
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in
Very,
a
very
debate.
long time. Yeah.
So most people have not heard from him, and I think it was a very good start to the episode because that was one of the most transparent versions of him I've seen,
Yeah.
and he's someone who's not afraid to speak his truth and
Yeah.
to share his opinion, which was one of the things which made him one of the best debaters on the continent. So
Yeah.
I've seen some of the quotes going around, and I've seen some people ask for him to be returned to the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully that day
Yeah.
will come.
Hopefully,
But
hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully we'll come back.
shout outs to F for giving us that
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. Shout outs to you. Of course, that was like the kickstart of um the very best versions of the shaft when we said, okay, now we are ready to start giving people an episode every single week, and so having F
Yeah.
to be on the first episode was really really amazing, and he was so happy to be there. Like he was, you could
Yeah.
see how happy he was talking about these things. So these
Yeah.
experiences are really really good ones. The next comment is Mali RK Universe, who says thank you. And this person is you, Erasmus. What are you doing in the comment section of an episode? What are you
It's
doing in the
fine.
comment section?
It's
I
planning
actually
and
do this
plotting.
too. I go around and people who have commented on these episodes, I usually either like their comments, leave a laugh there, or just comment and say thank you. And because these things mean a lot to us, right? So this is live under Faithfulness's episode after this person discovered that Faithfulness had 13 trophies, said that's crazy. And I mean, maybe
Yeah.
now it doesn't seem crazy because you are hearing it in 2023. This is F who stopped debating in 2020, if I'm right. And so start
Yeah.
asking yourself how we felt back then when, as at that time, he had 13 trophies. If F were to continue actively debating to 2023, I'm sure he would have expanded that number by now. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely.
for me, it's definitely crazy. Like, it's been crazy is really the absolute reaction to that kind of dominance. But this is a question that Erasmus, I want you to comment on it because it's very, very funny because I've seen it firsthand. Beyond that, I've asked myself that question several times. And so maybe you can help answer. It says, nah, but why would people pay Rego just to spend time with their crush?
Uh, First of all, I don't think that's even a difficult question at all. Because if you hear of the things people have done to be with their crush, Rego of,
Is
I
the
don't
least
know,
of them.
3,000 naira or like 200 naira or I don't know, 200 CDs.
Is the
It's
least.
incomparable. At least you get to watch some debates in addition.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's a bonus. A bonus. It's a bonus. But I think yeah, like the person who shared a bit of spotlight also on this was in
Yeah.
Buemo's episode, right? Where
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
spoke
yeah.
about like people getting hitched in debates. So
Yeah.
the way I think about it, let me be very honest with you.
Yeah.
Um People usually find people they like within their social circles. Like there's
That's
no
true.
way you meet someone
That's true.
outside of your social circle. So the truth is that people who spend more time in church are more likely to
To
find
find
their crush
their crashes in
in
church.
church. People
Yeah.
who spend more time, I don't know, in gaming are more likely to meet people there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think in debates it's normal. It's fine. We're going to meet people that we're going to interact with more. We're going to like interacting
Yeah.
with, and would want to spend more time with them. And the only avenue to do so is
It's
within a
within the
debate
debate
tournament
space.
till you
Yeah.
guys decide to take it outside or what. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. In fact, I'm going to
Yeah.
encourage this to be done because at least it gets people to come to debates.
First of all,
Not
my
people
take on
who
this, your encouragement is from a biased perspective, so I won't buy it. But yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, for maybe somebody would ask, well, there are debaters who don't have crashes in the debate space. But I think what Erasmus said still applies. That person is probably a debater who has multiple social circles that they are active in. And so they
yeah,
probably may not meet their crush within the debate circle, but may meet that person in a different circle. So that's fair. So
but
for,
I want to put you on.
you said what?
Who is your biggest debate crush?
Please,
Both.
please, please, can we move
Now
on
you're
from
an
this
international.
crisis?
Hey,
Hey,
guys, let's hear this from Andrews. Andrews, please tell us who is your biggest debate?
Erasmus,
Because I have a
who is
within
your biggest
debates.
debate crush?
No, but you have to answer before like
No,
I
but
answer
but
mine.
first of all, let's go back to when you renamed yourself as guest when you were coming in. Now take the guest seat,
No,
I beg you. Take
the audience will
take the
not forgive
guest
me
seat.
for this. We need
Oh,
to have an
if
answer,
they
please.
want me to answer,
Time.
they should keep listening. Don't worry. Like I would answer in one of the episodes down the line. One of the Shaft Board
Boo,
episodes down the line.
boo, boo.
But yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Audience,
those
listen
are
to
those are.
Andrews.
You can come to my DM for the list. I mean, it's an entire list anyway. Yeah. So
Hey, someone has
Razak,
just texted me a name.
You said what?
I'll share it later.
Hey,
Someone
Erasmus, be
sent me.
careful. Be careful.
I don't want to read it on this podcast, else
So, so Razak said
someone died.
hi with a lot of love emojis. Hi to you too,
Hi,
Razak.
Razak.
Thanks for listening and keep up the support as well. So this comment is from Rumen, who, after listening to, I think, Faithfulness's episode, was leaving a comment and said, "Great section, boys. Really strong production value and structure. Great takes and very motivating. Can't wait to see who else will join." Right. So, for me, Rumen has been very supportive of our debating as well,
Yeah,
and
in fact, the entire statement.
yeah, yeah, and for him to leave this comment also because himself and Nikki also work on structural reasons, and so for this
Yes,
from one to another, recognizing the value and the work going on is really really amazing. So thank you, Rumen, as well.
yeah.
Thanks for the support and 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 the
Just
encouragement.
a little bit on that. Like I think especially around the time I was in Spain for Worlds, we had a lot of
Yeah,
conversation with Nick and Rumen. So also it was within that period that we started to have ideas about what we needed to do with debates. Like I think with faithfulness, we were talking about people like Ashish being at the tournament and having the opportunity to speak to them. We watched a couple of interviews, which he did with Jenny
yeah,
Mighty. So to see them go ahead and execute that podcast in that manner also like gives a lot of content
yeah,
and for the debate circuit.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
think we would encourage more of that if more and more people do that. But generally, like Nikki and Rumen are fantastic people. In fact, the entire Eastern European circuit has been one of our have been one of our biggest fans
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
till
really
date.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in terms of helping us in improving in debates, in terms of supporting us even with funding when we needed to go to Madrid, and a couple of other things. So big shout outs to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Really good.
And I mean they broke first at Worlds, which was an incredible thing, like an insane achievement. So
Yes,
I've probably
yes.
not had the opportunity to really, really express how impressive that performance was. And so from this platform to Nikki and Rumen, amazing stuff, guys. Good stuff. Madness, madness.
Keep up, boys.
Yeah, so Himole Favor from Nigeria says this is really cool to watch. Love the engagement. Great job, everyone. And the interesting thing about Favor is that even before an episode comes out, this one person who would text me and say, "I'm really looking forward to this one." Whether she sees it on WhatsApp, on Snapchat, she would always text you and say, "You guys are doing amazing. This is something I'm looking forward to see." And I don't know for you, but just knowing that certain people or people are looking forward to this gives you some form of motivation and strength to not let them down, right? Because what that does is to make sure that you are putting in the effort, to make sure that you're also maintaining the quality, because you have to meet these people's expectations. And so thank you very much for the support, for the engagement as well, on in the comment section.
Yeah, thank you very
Um,
much. I really, we
yes,
really,
yes,
really appreciate it.
yeah. um this comment is actually from people who watched Anam's episode, and it's really they have a couple of interesting comments there. So Salim says this is one of the most insightful episodes. I literally share a common perspective with Anam. And if you look at the perspective that Anam shares on debate, there I think that perspective actually has divided opinions within the debate space about whether debate should mean more in terms of the trophies, or should mean more in terms of what process you go through or what the journey is this whole thing about, is the journey as important as the destination, or the destination is more important than the journey? And I think Anam's perspective on that, which for me I found very intriguing, not that specific thing about the process is as important, but very intriguing, as in, for instance, she was debating and not calculating points along the way. They never. debated and went to were like, okay, we are 4 points or we are seven. They just ended the tournament, and when it breaks, they're able to see, oh, so we had 20 points in this tournament. And that is how far they took the idea of not debating based on consequences. Because a lot of us, some people say it, but yeah, we still counted the points along the line anyway. But Anam did it like to the extent where you'd realize it was to a certain extreme level. And that's how she viewed debates. That's the reflection on which she put on debate. So looking at Salim
Yeah,
say this, it's really, really interesting as well.
yeah. I'll tell you something for free, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Tell us,
someone
tell
who
us.
believes in this. I'm someone who believes in this,
Yeah.
but for some reason, I think also I'm probably not the right profile to talk about it. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
many trophies I've won. I think it's
This
very
this is
powerful to.
facts. This is facts.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah.
many trophies I've won. I think I was counting at a point. Like I don't. I'm not sure I ever counted, but I think
I've
yeah.
also
Of
not
course,
counted,
sometimes
to
I
be
sit down
honest.
and reflect. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know how many breaks I have. I don't. Sometimes I don't
Nah.
remember the tournaments I even
Yeah.
see it or yeah. And I'm being like it's because you also know this, right? Sometimes I have to sit with you before
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
like
To even
combing
create
through.
your achievements. Yeah.
Yes. So you were even the one who advised me to keep like a sheet,
Yeah.
especially when I started to apply for some of these things. So
Yeah.
I I think that what I just wanted to put across was that it's possible to hold that perspective and still achieve so much more. People think it's a
Yeah.
leave
Yeah.
or take
Yeah.
scenario. You need to
It's
have
true.
that goal conscious fighting for this before you can actually achieve it. Like it doesn't matter if
No.
you just go in there to enjoy every single debate. For me, I'm always looking forward to the next round. I'm not
Yeah.
excited about anything else except the next round of debate I have to be in. And
Yeah.
you can still have that perspective, enjoy the debates, the process, and still achieve the results.
And I
So
mean, look at
what
Anam.
I just want
She's an incredible speaker, right? So she herself is an evidence
yeah,
of exactly what you're pointing to.
of exactly this thing. Yeah. So, um, and there's another point I also wanted to make. Right, I was privileged to listen to a discussion where like the alumni of University of Energy and Natural
Yeah.
Resources were
Yeah.
speaking, and this is a debate society which has done a lot massively. Like they have the
Yeah.
current, I think they've produced like the world's best public speaker,
Yeah.
amongst
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
number of things, right? But there were a lot of debaters who, in the beginning, had gone through, and it didn't seem like they achieved a lot in terms of the trophies, in terms of
Yeah.
participation. But these guys give a lot for debates. Some of these
They
guys
do.
from, and that's what I want everyone to appreciate because sometimes people think that people from smaller institutions or from smaller circuits don't just work as hard as they do. They
No.
work very hard. They
I
make
even think
sacrifices.
sometimes they
These
work
guys
harder.
they work harder. These guys are
Yeah.
missing exams in order to
Yeah.
come and debate when they know they are probably not going to win, but they are coming each and
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
So I said, what's making people do this? Like this is crazy. I don't know if it's magic, but if you think about it, it's crazy. If I tell
Yeah.
you to give me all your money and you are not sure if you are going to get a profit or a return, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to do it. But these guys
Yeah.
do it. So the question now was, what was the reward? What did they feel was what they
Yeah.
were
It
getting
was
out
really
of
the
it?
process.
And then and now I began to listen to some of them in
Yeah.
terms of where they are now in life. And
Yeah.
we also need to recognize that where you are in life is also always about perspective. And some of
Yeah.
these guys are doing amazing things. Some of these guys are
Yeah.
working in some of the biggest companies. Some of these guys
Yeah.
are now rich. They are richer
Yeah.
than me. They are richer than people that I know won
Yeah.
trophies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some of them are doing incredible things within their circles. Some of them may even just be in church and their kind of ideas and things that they are bringing, and they can
Yeah.
all relate it back to debate. So
Debate.
I think
Yeah.
this is one of the things we want to highlight within this podcast, where the successes of debates is not just within debates. Like Anam, for example, is a doctor, and I
Yeah.
know she's definitely going to stand out as a medical practitioner within
Absolutely.
her country just
Yeah.
because of the experience that she has. So for me, we shouldn't undermine the experience and the things
Yeah.
that debates brings. And that's why I get so angry when people just look at the process and get frustrated by not getting a
The
trophy, not
results, yeah,
winning this, and they start peddling bad information like, yeah, these guys have done this. It's like, bro, at the end of the day, what debate gives you is bigger than
yeah,
these two, three trophies,
yeah,
which not everybody is going to be able
yeah,
to win. So I
yeah.
think it's a very important narrative.
I mean, two things here. First, Anam herself sort of acknowledges this when we had a conversation about what are the things she picked up from debates beyond like the trophies and the wins. And she was talking about, for instance, how empathetic debate has made her, and how knowledgeable it has made her. Because now she knows a lot more about diversity. She knows a lot more about seeing things from people's perspectives. And I think that would be really valuable as a medical practitioner if you are looking at interacting with patients, getting to understand things from their points of view, and being empathetic towards them. But for me as well, I sort of disagree with this view that debate is all about the trophies. I mean, don't get me wrong, the trophies are really, really important. But like Anam said, you sometimes also need to find different things within debate to give you motivation to keep growing. If you are not winning, did it mean you broke higher than you did the previous year? Does it mean that you got a higher speaker score than you did the previous year? And you and I, like, I remember there was this tournament, the first tournament we had on the international scene where we had never had a speaks below, I think, 78. In that tournament, we went out in quarters or semis. It was JHU, and we went out very early in the out round. But that performance of, for the first time, not having a really low speaker score was the positive that we picked up from that competition, and we looked at how to maintain that. And for a very long time, that became something we're able to maintain, because I think it's the narrowness with which people define success within debate that's creating this problem. And
Mhm.
so it is
Yeah,
time we start dispelling that narrative that debate is all about the wins, right? It's really about the
yeah.
quality. And for me, you
It
would
doesn't
know
make
this.
any sense.
Yeah, exactly. You would know this even more than so many other people. When I pick debates and the things debate had made me better at, and the perspectives it's giving me, the way I think now, the way I approach life, etc. Debate has been a significant part of that growth in
Yeah,
terms of me
I
as a
just I
person.
just wanted to make one quick comment on this, then
Yeah,
we move on, right? But if you think about it mathematically, it doesn't make sense because
yeah,
you just have a few years to probably debate, right? And there are
exactly.
just a few comms, and the number of people who are competing, and not only
A
that,
lot.
you may be unlucky. You may be unlucky to
Yeah,
have Andrews in your generation, who is probably like good and is going to come to every tournament. So if you now measure your success by how many trophies did you win within that period, it just
yeah,
becomes like unrealistic. Mathematically, this cannot be a resolution of everyone. But I think debate and the competitiveness it brings just draws people to want to. I mean, it's nice to have trophies. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong. It's nice to
yeah.
win,
It's
but
really nice.
I think, like you said, you need to have different metrics by which you define
Yeah,
success and
yeah,
define happiness.
yeah. Um, so Chidera says that amazing. I also don't debate for outcomes, and this story by Anam is so relatable because I also broke first in my nationals and had no idea what my point was. And this is really, really inspirational because if you listen to Anam's episode, they went to nationals when they had just been partnered. Herself and Lindo had just been partnered. They went to nationals and then they broke first in that first ever national, and that was insane because I don't see that happening for a lot of first timers at nationals
Mhm.
debate competitions, right? So, but yes, thank you, Chidera, for sharing as well, and we are happy you were able to relate to it. And I think really that's the point of the podcast, to diversify the people, the kind of people that we profile, so every single person out there who is listening can relate to these different personalities uniquely in a way that helps them put their life into perspective. Frida says Anam with a love emoji. I think a lot of people have forgotten how lovely Anam was and how sensational she was within that period. Because within the period where she was really active, like 2020 during the COVID era where we're all debating, Anam was one of the people when you get to partner, you know you are secure the final. Like the break is not the conversation, the final is not the conversation. Conversation is whether you win. right? So
Yeah.
it's really, and she was a motivation. I think this is something that a lot of people don't talk about now, but she was a motivation for a lot of the female debaters within the space because they look at Anam and Lindo and battling up there with all the top people, and then it motivated them as well to grow within the space. So thanks everyone for these amazing comments. So that brings us to the end. There's one more comment that I've left specifically for the latter part of this conversation because I think it launches us nicely into a conversation we'll be having on the greatest debaters that we've seen within the world and the WDC era as well. But on the shaft board, the first question we asked was for people to narrate their shafting experiences. And I mean, obviously, with the name of the Shaft podcast and the person who hosts a lot of episodes, who is Erasmus, and his identity of shafting people in debates, you would realize that it was
Mhm.
just befitting.
That's true.
It was just befitting that we put on the shaft board the first question about shafting for people who are slightly confused about shafting. It's similar, it's the same as knifing people in debates where you vehemently disagree with people in your opening half, specifically with British parliamentary, and then divert from them. So we have two responses here that we are going to delve into. And while we do that, we'll also spin off a little bit and chat about Erasmus's shafting experiences, some tournaments where he's had to do them. Disclaimer, anytime he co-opts me into these stories, just know that I'm not the one he's referring to. I'm not the Andrews he's referring to. And so the first, yeah, it says narrate to us your most feared debate shafting experiences, be it whether you were the shafter or the shafted. This question, the way in which I framed it was very nice because whether you were the shafter or the shafted, a lot of people usually claim victims for being for shafting. Meanwhile, there are also sometimes the shafters. They themselves shaft and they keep quiet on it. And then when they are shafted, they come crying wolf about suffering from shafting. So the first response came from T, who says, "So I was the shafter." Oh, finally, somebody has boldly claimed they were the shafter. Says I was the shafter. It was my first tournament. I qualified for novice finals and I was CEO. I was sure I was going to win since I thought I understood the debate better than everyone. So I came in with a new characterization and framing and all with so much confidence. I not only shafted my opening, I shafted all the other teams too. Yeah, we lost, of course.
As it should be.
The final statement is just so funny. But I mean, just to delve into this a little bit, this is a strategy that I don't think works if you do it in the way in which this person is describing it. That you come into the debate and you simply just shaft everyone, right? I think you probably need to be introducing these new dimensions of yours into the debate gradually, setting the stage up for people to sort of start wondering, and then you can have a claim that, you know what, I introduced these things, but they were just not smart enough to pick on them, and it's not that I'm just creating a disadvantage by hoarding all that information. But since we have a shaft expert here, let's go to Erasmus and understand how some of these scenarios play out. Because you've been in finals CEO most of the time where you've reframed and recharacterized debates and won. And so I want to know how you do them. What do you think this person should have done better to try and win that final as well?
Um, you'll be surprised that it's a very difficult question for me to answer.
Yeah,
To be honest, I don't even remember like a lot of these experiences because when you win, let me explain it this way. A good shaft is the
yeah,
one where people don't agree that you shafted. Like once people
yeah.
think you shafted, it's probably not a good shaft. So
Okay,
of course, like shaft has a negative connotation in debate, but
yeah,
like when we speak about it as a strategy, it's just like the recharacterization and
yeah,
reframing of debate, changing the goals and priorities of the debate. So the way I like to think about it is what's the true debate, and I feel like at its sense, there is always something which the debate is demanding, motion is demanding. There's a burden
yeah,
that the motion puts on you. And this is not just the normal, what are the burdens of debate? There's something at the core of it which
yeah,
you can humanize and you can be
yeah,
able to speak about. So my goal is to find it. And the reason why this is important or this works is because then it is something that people find so true and already
Yeah.
agree with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I'm debating, I always say that my goal is not to convince you. My goal is
Yeah.
to tell you something you
You
already
already
agree with.
believe. Yeah. Yeah.
You already believe in, so that we can go. So I think that's the key. You always want to present the notion that if we don't shaft, if you don't buy my shaft, you probably have to buy a messy debate. And what maybe the other guy said,
Yeah.
they probably don't have a lot of knowledge or idea about the motion enough and
Yeah.
probably just debated it. And therefore,
Yeah.
you brought the real debate. So,
Yeah.
one iconic example, of course, this guy being in CEO, one iconic example for me was in PAEDC 2019,
Ah.
where I was in closing opposition
Yeah.
um, with Michael, and Masheria and Jabez were in OO,
Yeah.
yourself and Duke were in CG, and
Karim and
Karim
Elisha
and
were in
Elisha
OG.
were
Hot
OG.
room.
So in that debate, the motion was very slim. The motion was something around there is a
Releasing
missile
information
incoming.
about crisis that was impending to
Yes,
happen.
there's
Yeah.
a missile incoming. So what should people like? Whether we should tell the public or withhold it from
Yeah.
them? And we were sure that it was going to kill everyone, right? And of course, like opening governments, it being Karim, beautiful PM speech. Elisha did very well with the responses, but OO was phenomenal.
Oh, was
OO
outstanding in that
argued
debate.
this, argued all the principle and stuff like that. And we were in CO and
Yeah.
uh, we just had nothing to run. Of course, we had a few things around the principle because Michael was good with the principle,
Yeah.
but I
Principles.
felt it was exhausted. I felt it was
Yeah.
exhausted. So I sat down and I was like, look, if there is a missile incoming, which is coming to kill all of us, like just imagine we are in this hall and it's coming to
Yeah.
kill all of us. What would be the most important thing for me? And obviously, like OO had discussed, yeah, no, so that you tell your family and everything. But
Yeah.
what would be the most important thing for me? What would be the most important thing for me? And I realized that it's just me having the power to be able to do something. I knew that definitely I want to try
Yeah. At
and do
least
something. I
try.
want to try
Yeah.
and save.
Try. Even if you fail, you just want to try.
I just want to try, even if I know I'll fail. I just want to reach my family. I just want to reach someone. And then that's when I began to open up more about the debate and humanize it about the hopelessness of people. And I realized that this condition is not something which is just for people who will be hit by the bomb. There are people who live in this hopelessness
Yeah.
for their daily life as a result of social circumstances, as a result of
Yeah.
things which are
Like imagine
happening in
somebody
this
who
world.
has terminal illness and a doctor is concerned,
Yes,
like deciding whether do you tell them or not tell them and all that.
yes, yes. So I realized it was just about giving power back to the individual.
Yeah.
Like because there are people who live with that hopelessness, who want to have a feel that their destiny is in their own
Yeah.
hands and they can be able to do something. And I just went there and I went to present that story to the judges. And it's something that they related with. So I began to expand the use case scenario, the
Yeah.
user scenarios to explain many different social groups, many
Yeah.
different
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
conditions where people feel that hopelessness and know that they are damned, but they want to feel something.
To
They want
know.
to feel like they
Yeah.
can do something. They want to
Yeah.
know. They want to have that advantage. They want to have that power. And it worked. It worked because we had
Yeah.
to go there. We just told the story, and it worked. And it was
For me,
shafting OO because
yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah, it was shafting OO because they had gone ahead to set up the debate. I've forgotten how it was by in one particular way, and we just came in there to just expand everybody's minds and make it way more relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, like also the lesson I picked up from that final was really that you didn't need complex stuff to win. You could just be relatable as basic as anybody can think of, and that could still
Mm.
be the winning case. So yeah, T, if you listen to this, yeah, this is for you and also for everybody out there who wants to shaft like Erasmus. Anyway, the second response is from Supanana, who says Accra Open 2023 round about decentralizing crypto. This doesn't look good for me. You see, I was OO and the Terku was CEO. We lost the
Of
round, all
course.
thanks to Andy's member speech. Man spent 2 minutes showing how minute in scope our impacts are, and then said with sided with the Gaff bench to lash us. I wanted revenge in the finals, but the closest I came was being in CG and he being in OO. We all lost the finals though. I'm currently plotting the revenge for whenever I close him next in a round. This
Mm.
story is being misrepresented and mischaracterized for how things happen in the room.
You've been found out.
I
You've
don't
been
know,
found out.
but this round actually was, the reason why this round was really, really important to me, because it's a similar motion to what took me out of 2021 AO semi final. That
Mhm.
room you were in that final, semi final room about crypto. Is it Estonia or forgotten one of these countries who had
El
nationalized
Salvador.
crypto, El Salvador, who had nationalized cryptocurrency, and it was that conversation, and we're lashed. So it pained me. So I went to read. Like usually that's what happens when I'm beaten in a debate room. I would go read about that topic, get ready for the next time I meet it. Now I came to meet it, and this motion I think was about nationalizing cryptocurrencies instead of decentralizing. And they were characterizing the nationalization of cryptocurrencies as though it would exist within the same framework within which it exists in open space and private space. And so when I looked
Mm.
back on those motion and I was like, nah, actually, when you are nationalizing cryptocurrencies, of course, it comes with certain specific considerations. Also, because states have certain financial interests that leaving it in the very volatile and open way in which it exists in the private space doesn't allow states to secure that interest. So I sort of reframed how specifically the nationalization of cryptocurrencies occur using El Salvador, using China trying to adopt the Chinese version of cryptocurrency, using US trying to adopt a digital currency as well, and then use those specific provisions to outframe a lot of the up harms, and then also use that to limit the impacts on the OO case, and then use that to scale up the impacts on the CO case. And so it was simply like you were saying, it was just reframing. But I think that debate didn't have a unanimous call. It was like a 2-1 split, because it's difficult, right? Some of the judges felt, well, the debate should happen with crypto existing in its everyday state. But some of the judges also brought the framing that, like, to be fair, with the way in which nationalization of crypto is happening, you cannot presume that that's not how it's happening in the real world. And so you needed to buy the CEO frame. So, I mean, we all lost the final. The final, I'm not really sad about it. I've never won Accra Open before, but this Accra Open 2023 was one of the most amazing runs I've had, because aside dropping 1 point in the first round, myself and Fatal went on to win all the other rounds. Were simply unstoppable, like amazing, amazing
Yeah,
stuff.
that's why you had to leave.
But I mean, if there's one tournament I would like to go back just to debate in again, Accra Open will be one of them. But maybe there's a time to give shout outs to Speech Forces as well, because I think Speech Forces and the competitions they are doing in Ghana and West Africa is amazing. And the kind of dedication they've given to debate growth in the circuit. Also, not just on the university level, but also developing young talent from high schools. With, if you've noticed, the Mangana debate series now is going through all the various regions and organizing debate competitions for high schools to debate, and not just organizing, but equally offering them training prior to the competition as well, and helping them build their debate talent. It's really, really amazing, because those are some of the things we need in Africa. And when you look at some of the best debaters in the world, these people came from a strong high school debates culture, a circuit where they had active debate trainings within their high school levels before launching into the university level. So shout out to Speech Forces, to Erica Samoa and the team, and Team Ghana, and all the great work that you guys are doing as well.
Yeah, and yeah, to be very honest, we need more of these.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, we need people to wake up. And so I know, for example, in Kumasi, there's KDO where
yeah,
um we are. I think I don't know the name of the organization itself, which is seeking to like expand, like do tournaments that would attract people in there. We need
yeah,
people also in. Tamale and in the north trying to do these
Yeah,
things. People, strong debate organizations in Nigeria are trying to do this
yeah,
because I think the future of debate is in organizations and not institutions.
yeah,
And if we
yeah,
see
yeah.
very like especially in Asia, the circuit is growing a
Very,
lot
very,
due to
very, very.
organization of debates around. I mean, obviously, like it has its downsides, but I think the more organizations that we have and putting up mini tournaments, the more it becomes accessible to a lot
Yeah,
of different people, and the more people have to do so. So,
yeah,
incredible work, Speech Forces and
yeah. I
by
mean,
everyone.
shout out to all the WSDC teams in Africa, from Kenya to Zimbabwe to Nigeria to Morocco to Ghana, and every person and organizations who are backing these teams. You look at Royal Rhetorics in Nigeria, you look at Speech Forces in Ghana, you look at Royalty Pact in Zimbabwe. You look at Macharia and his team doing a great work in Kenya as well. So all like massive, massive congratulations for the efforts, the results you are getting as well. Thanks everyone. So this sums up the responses we had for this question. Um, and it's been amazing chatting them as well. Oh, the only thing I want to notice is that, like, now that you've seen us talking about these responses, it should tell you that we actually mean it when we say share your perspectives with us, and we'll talk about them because we really want to know what you think about some of these issues. And so there would be more shaft board episodes. So do well to interact and then get your comments featured as well. So this is the comments that I said I'm leaving it to transition into the second part of the shaft board. But the second part of the shaft board gave a list of 10 good debaters, like outstanding debaters, and asked people to rank them from 1 to 10. This actually came out the day after the football Ballon d'Or, where Messi won his eighth Ballon d'Or. And it was like, if you had this list of all these debaters in their prime, give a ranking of your top 10 debate Ballon d'Or people, these people within their prime, and certain rankings came in. But this conversation, funny enough, started after F. We published the second episode of F. And I think F had an interesting take on Dan Lahav and how much of an incredible debater Dan was. And so Vincent, who is ESL finalist at Madrid and also part of the current dispensation of outstanding debaters, said Tin is who F thinks Dan is. And so the way in which F sort of holds Dan dear to him, Vincent says, nah, he thinks Tin is um uh who F thinks Dan is. And the funny thing about this is that yesterday in a comment section under the post on the Shaft Facebook page, Tin made a comment because somebody commented and said it's sort of a shame that Dan wasn't on the list and all that, which we'll talk about in a bit. But then Tin made a comment and said, even though Tin himself is on the list, they sort of agree that Dan should be there because Dan is an outstanding debater. So it's funny how two people are having different perspectives on these two debaters when one of them is actually on social media agreeing and sort of recognizing the greatness of the other person. And I think it's a thing
To
within
be fair,
sports. Like, yeah, Ronaldo and Messi will probably agree that both of them are great, but Ronaldo and Messi fans would always disagree who is the greater person amongst the two, right? Yeah,
just to
Erasmus.
caveat a bit,
Yeah.
Tin didn't say he thinks Dan Lahav is greater. He
No, no, no,
says
no,
that
no, no, no.
even though he's on the list,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
thinks Dan Lahav will also be on the list. So
Yes.
just to
Yes.
clarify,
No, yes. So this clarification is very important because this is not Tin conceding that Dan is a greater debater than they are, right? So, and see this interesting comment from Faithfulness. Faithfulness says, and this is a part of Faithfulness that a lot of people would be surprised by because this is Faithfulness being Faithfulness. Says Dan Lahav, Eras bro, Dan went toe to toe with MDG and Ashish. Tin doesn't clean his shoes, right? So, and this is a
Oh,
point where
I see.
I see, this is a point where I see that different generations, with having observed different sets of speakers, are speaking from their perspective of who they've seen, right? Because I have experienced more of Tin than obviously I've experienced of Dan. Prior to this episode, of course, we've done our homework, done a little bit more research about Dan Lahab and their debate achievements. But I've experienced Tin. I've been in rooms with Tin. I've watched Tin speak, and I've gone like, how does this person think? Like, how do you come about something like this? And so when I'm having that conversation, even though I may appreciate Dan, I'll probably have a lot more experiential bias towards Tin because of what I've experienced. And I think that's what it's leaking through Faithfulness's comments here, because Faithfulness had more experiences listening to Dan, because these are some of the speakers Faithfulness listened to when he was growing up, when he was learning, when he was looking up to being the best of the best within the circuit as well. And so it sort of looks to me like more bias from an experience perspective rather than the factual representation of what it is. I don't know your thoughts on this, though, Erasmus.
Yeah, I'm here for the violence. I'm here for the spice.
Says I'm here for the violence. So you saw me comment on it. I said me enjoying the takes on this side because I just went to that comment section and I looked at that short thread there and I was like, ooh, this is
No, but
interesting
I
stuff.
get what faithfulness is saying. Faithfulness is talking about Eris, and for
Yeah.
him, I think he's just trying to say that the people whom Dan Lahab had to compete with maybe cannot be compared to the people whom Tin had to compete with. Which,
I
or
sort of
yeah,
contextually disagree because if you look at Tin was probably the best within the era where he
very
was at
dominant.
the top.
Yeah,
And so,
because it was very
but
dominant.
Dan probably had people at par with him, right? And so it's probably a little
Yeah,
bit difficult trying to look at that because I
yeah,
look at Tin and I'm like, this person didn't just win worlds and go sleep. Tin came back, won every single trophy you can think of, like just went on a rampage, sitting on people's
yeah.
happiness.
I don't know. I don't know who could stop him. Like, I do. I
Yeah,
like.
Tin just
In
had to
fact,
say, "Okay, I'm
I think.
stopping," right? Because if
Yeah, I
not
think
that,
when.
yeah,
Yeah, I think when we knew we were doing well was when we began to meet Tin in rounds. That's when we were like,
exactly,
okay,
exactly, exactly,
okay,
and
now
like
it's not going there to win, but like, yeah,
yeah, just be in those rooms, and we learned a lot in some of those rooms. And for me, this is not me bragging. Maybe it's me bragging a little bit, but one of my best trophies is obviously the Western Ivy Trophy, and one of the reasons why I view it like that, beyond because I think that final speech was like that finals motion. I just enjoyed it because the way in which we predicted the debate sort of worked. But I just look at that semi-final and breaking ahead of Tin, who was closing in CU as well, and that gives me some amazing feeling. And
you ran
it's
him
Tin,
extension.
like
Let's just say
Tin.
it,
Yeah, it's
and
Tin,
you
right?
ran
So
him
if
extension.
if it's Tin and I'm breaking ahead of Tin, that's amazing. So if at that time you see that these things where we're doing debates where we are like, um, if it's PADC champion, whoever beats the PADC champion now has a commemorative trophy as PADC champion.
Yeah,
If we're doing that thing at the
yeah, you
time,
would
I'll
have
probably
been
have had commemorative WDC
world
trophy by
champion.
that time. You see. So literally. But yeah, this launches us nicely into the conversation about the second shaft board, which we had on the best of debaters within this era. A few like disclaimers here though. First of all, we recognize that there's a long list of outstanding debaters. This list is just 10 people, obviously it doesn't cover all. Secondly, this list was really not intentional to rank people. It was just sampling 10 of the most incredible speakers we've seen and put them in a list and ask people to rank from first to 10. And so if you ask me sitting here that do I think all these people or these people are the only greatest debaters we've seen, I don't think so. Like we came to debate and saw the likes of Shenguli with immaculate speeches. Like when you listen to Shenguli on YouTube, you look like at this time this guy was thinking this way. That's amazing, right? So I think people shouldn't view this list or the list on this board as my ranking or Erasmus's ranking of top 10 debaters in the world, or in the era in which we've seen since debates began. This is really just a sample or one variation, but also look forward to more variations of this list, because there are several different variations of this list that we are going to be putting out for you to keep ranking. One of the most interesting ones that we intend to do actually is to put out a list of 30 very, very good debaters and ask you to shortlist 10. Then we would see who you are leaving out, because that would be the most interesting one, where we see where people's violence would lie, right? So, just for disclaimer purposes, do not view this as sidelining anyone. But then that launches us nicely into the first conversation we want to have, because this was the question where we said construct your top 10 debates Ballon d'Or ranking with these speakers in their best elements. I think first of all, we should notice the key thing here. This presumes the speakers in their very best element. So if you are looking at these speakers, you have to look at their prime, right? When they occurred, because a lot of these speakers are from different eras or different dispensations of debate. And the list was Michael Dangojkan, which is MDG, Bosio, Harish, Tin, Hadar, David Africa, Jason, Entin, Ashish, and Sajid, right? Um, I just want to point out there were a lot of people who asked why Dan Lahav wasn't on the list. And so, because of that, even though Dan Lahav was not on the list, myself and Erasmus will just have a quick chat about how good of a speaker Dan was.